The Ghana Armed Forces has launched an operation to raid the country's border communities of suspected terrorists, some of whom have disguised themselves as nomadic herdsmen. The operation is also to ensure illegal immigrants and others living unlawfully in the country are sent back to their countries. In an interview with Joy News, Deputy Defense Minister Kofi Amankwa-Manu said so far, over 20,000 persons have been repatriated to their countries, with more expected in the coming days.
This problem is getting really bad. And so armed forces is helping RESEC to really deal with this issue of not allowing these illegal immigrants and the herdsmen and these terrorist groupings free movement, 20,000. And the numbers keep increasing by the day because of the fact that, our neighboring countries have intensified, security actions against these terrorism groupings. And so we have many of them blocking into Ghana because of the peace we have in this country. But that peace is something we really must protect and make sure we continue to enjoy.
Let's go back to one of such border communities where my colleague Elias Tanko has been monitoring the ongoing repatriation exercise for updates. Elias, we understand the repatriation is ongoing in Paga. What can you report from there? All right, we're trying to get Elias Tanko to tell us more about the repatriation because the Ghana Armed Forces has launched an operation to raid the country's border communities of suspected terrorists, some whom have disguised themselves as nomadic herdsmen. The operation is also to ensure illegal immigrants and others living unlawfully in the country are sent back to their countries. In an interview with Joy News, we heard the Deputy Defense Minister Kofi Amankwa-Manu saying that so far over 20,000 persons have been repatriated to their countries, with more coming up in the coming days. Elias Tanko thankfully has joined us again. We know that the repatriation is ongoing in Paga. What can you report from where you are, Elias? Elias. Well, there seems to be a connection problem. We'll try and get Elias back. When we do, we'll bring you that interview. And as we wait for Elias to join us, let's get on to other stories. All 10 flag-bearer aspirants of the NPP have been cleared by the vetting committee led by Professor Michael Eronokwe to contest the elections. The committee concluded its work and presented its recommendations to the National Council through the General Secretary on Monday. This led to the steering committee yesterday and subsequent release of the list of the according to the party's elections guidelines. Samuel Mbura joins us on Zoom with more. What is contained in the statement released by the NPP on the flag-bearer election after the steering committee's meeting yesterday, Mbura?
Pursuant to Article 10.3 of the New Patriotic Party's Constitution, the vetting committee for the party's presidential primary election submitted its report to the National Council through the General Secretary on Monday, and that was July 10. Subsequently, there was a meeting where there was a meeting between the vetting committee and the steering committee, and the report was placed before them. So, per the party's protocol, the steering committee went through the report yesterday, and per the guidelines, published it. And in the report, the committee recommended that all 10 aspirants are eligible to participate in the upcoming presidential primaries, subject to approval of the National Council. So I'll just run you through the list of all the 10 aspirants in the order in which they have been qualified. So we have Alan Chermantin, who is a former Trade and Industry Minister, Mr. Kojo Poku, Energy Analyst, Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Baumia, Boache Ejako, former Energy Minister, Honorable Kobina Eje Japon, former General Secretary. The C person is Kennedy Ohene Japon, Asin Central MP. We have Dr. Kofi Konadu-Apreku, being the 7th person on the list. Dr. Owusu Akoto-Afiye, the former Agric Minister. Joe Gatti, former Railway Development Minister, and the 10th aspirant, Francis Adainimo. So these are all the 10 aspirants that the party or the vetting committee led by Professor Mike Eronokwe has qualified or cleared to contest in the upcoming elections of the NPP.
So after this process, what next in Bura?
So the National Council of the party would have to sit over this recommendation by the vetting committee. So meaning the fate of the aspirants is still hanging because it is not a sure bet that the vetting committee's recommendation is a blanket one. If there are issues or there are any information available to the National Council that deems it fit for them to disqualify any aspirants, then that will be it. But we know the number is above 5, and per the party's guidelines, if the aspirants are more than 5, they have to go for the super delegates conference. In my earlier conversation with the the general secretary of the party, he said that all is in place for the super delegates congress to happen because the number is about 5. But they are still waiting for the approval of the National Council of the party, which is scheduled on July 20, 2023. So after that meeting, that we'll get the final approval or otherwise of the report of the vetting committee.
Samuel Mbura is with our political desk. He's been monitoring this for us. There's more we'll be telling you on the NPP flag bearership race. Let's go back to our earlier story where the armed forces is embarking on repatriation of people who pose as nomadic herdsmen. Ilyasu Tanko is in the town of Paga where the exercise is taking place. Ilyasu, what can you report from where you are?
Well, what I can tell you is that hundreds of them are currently being taken to the border at Paga, and they are conducting identification checks. They are looking at those who have Ghana cards. They are also looking at those who can speak any of the Ghanaian languages. These are the bases that for now they are using to repatriate these people who have come in to seek refuge. And it's happening across the northern part of the country. In Wale Wale yesterday, there was similar exercise happening in the Bole, in the Savannah region. The same incident happened also in Chile, in the Upper East region. Similar exercise happened. So in the Northeast region, for instance, officials said only yesterday more than 6 buses loaded with refugees, if you like, and with a military convoy, they were taken out of the country. So that is what is currently happening across the north of the country.
We're hearing that these refugees, some of them pose as nomadic herdsmen. Tell us more about the identities of these refugees.
Well, yes, a lot of them have come because of their influx. The flow has been very difficult for the officials at the borders to manage it. Last week, there was a camp set up to house all these refugees coming in. Unfortunately, according to the Ghana Refugees Board, this camp has been deserted. None of them are willing to go into this particular camp. And so yes, these are people that have come in fleeing jihadist attacks in their communities. And most of them that are currently being sent back are members of the Fulani ethnic group. Some of them, we understand, have been taken back without their cattle. And authorities are now in the process to resolve that particular challenge. They are bringing them back so that they can carry along their cattle.
All right, Albert Soris, our correspondent in Ilyasu Tanko, has been giving us more from Paga, but we've been joined by the Deputy Defense Minister, Kofi Amankwah. I'm grateful for your time, sir. What has necessitated this repatriation exercise?
Thank you very much, and I hope you're doing well.
Very well, thank you.
Yes, so what is actually happening is that neighboring countries, Burkina Faso, Togo, and then Cote d'Ivoire are conducting some security operations, to deal with the issue of terrorism grouping. And so most people are taking haven in Ghana. So we have a lot of people coming into Ghana. And our intelligence is that some of these armed groupings, terrorist armed persons have disguised themselves into herdsmen, into illegal immigrants, and all that, trying to come into our country. And so the various RESEC have been tasked to deal with the situation. And the Ghana Armed Forces is also assisting the various RESEC, along our borders to deal with the situation. So basically, we are acting on intelligence and trying to do that. Obviously, if our intelligence, indicates that you are a terrorist or you belong to any terrorist group, we cannot allow you to be in this country. So basically, we're trying as much as possible to restrict their movement and then to make sure that we do proper screening to really know who and who is coming to this country. Basically, that is all the operation.
So far, you say 20,000 people have been repatriated. How many more are you looking forward to repatriating?
Under the circumstances, it will be difficult to even tell how many we're going to have today or tomorrow because they are coming in droves. And so it will be difficult to put a figure to how many people are coming in. But some of them, this figure is really conservative because you have some not going through proper channels to come to this country. Others are using, unapproved routes. But these are the ones we've been able to capture approximately. That is the number. And I think a lot more will come. But we are trying to do our best to make sure that we have proper screening and then we do that which is right for the security of our people.
Beyond this exercise, Honorable Minister, what measures are you putting in place to ensure that you curtail the influx of illegal immigrants in here?
So what it says is that, I'll come back to what we've been doing over the period, what this government has been doing to really deal with the issue of terrorism and the illegal movement of people. So if you look, we are trying to put up, forward operating bases, along our northern borders. And so we will have permanent men in there. So these are mini barracks, if one, for want of a better word. So when we do that, we are going to work with the police and immigration 24/7 to make sure that whoever enters this country, we have an eye on that person.
I'm grateful for your time. Kofi Amankwame, he's Deputy Defense Minister. It's an exercise we're watching with keen eyes. Definitely there's update for you, our viewers, in our subsequent bulletins.